everyone, welcome back to the Simplicity Film Show. Hope you're all having an amazing day. Today we have a very special guest coming to you guys all the way from Seattle. His name is Wen Huber, an extremely talented filmmaker, someone I've personally worked with on a lot of my own client projects. He's someone I definitely recommend, and here we go. Today we have Wen Huber. Wen, I want to give you a chance to kind of introduce yourself and tell everyone your story.
First off, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I watched some of your other podcasts. They seem really cool. So it's definitely an honor to be on here. I'm from Seattle, Washington, and I've just been doing photography, videography, and editing for about 1 to 2 years. So my senior year of high school is when I kind of got really into it. And then ever since then, I've just been, doing what I can to do more of that content. And so that's pretty much it.
Cool. Yeah, so I want to give people just some context on kind of your childhood and kind of growing up and transitioning here in the United States, just because I think that's so valuable and really key to your story. So if you can give us context on how you grew up and kind of your childhood story.
So the way I got here, it's interesting because when I was a baby, I was burned in a fire. And then after I was burned in the fire, I was left at the doorsteps of an orphanage by my biological parents with no information, like no birth certificate, no name, just nothing, right? And so I was left at the orphanage when I was about 1, and I've been there since I was 6. And this is in China. So this is all happening in China. And then at 6.5 years old was when my American family, they found me through a website, and it's I think the website like God's Children or something like that. They're Christians, so they went to that website, and they found me up there, and then I came over. I shipped over.
What was that like? Like, what was going through your mind growing up, and just kind of walk me through, going to school. What did that feel like for you?
The initial transition from China to here was interesting because I had no idea what was going on, because I spoke fluent Mandarin Chinese, which I do not now. So just that initial barrier was kind of weird. But I came around Christmas time. So the moment I came, I saw a lot of gifts for me, and I was like, okay, this ain't bad.
Yeah.
But in terms of school and stuff, later years, it's weird because the place I went to school was first I was homeschooled until I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a lot of interaction with other people, and I'm the only Asian in my family, so I don't know if that's I don't know, there's that weird kind of barrier there just a little bit. But so when I went to public school, it was my freshman year of high school, I just kind of went into it thinking of nothing, just I'm there to finish my stuff, and that's what I did. So it wasn't too much of a barrier. It was just kind of I had a cool story, I guess, and then
After kind of, you came over to the U.S., you started growing up, you're with your new family. What got you into filmmaking and, the whole content creation game?
I honestly have no idea why I wanted to do it when I first started, but I always liked computers and stuff. And my brother had his computer, but he upgraded, and this was when I was 12. And my mom was like, yeah, I mean, if you can have it, if you can fix it, because there's a problem with the computer. And so I was like, all right, free computer, I just have to fix it. It wouldn't turn off. And I mean, I just messed with it. I literally just messed with it, and I didn't do anything super cool. I just literally just messed with it, and then it turned on. And then I had my computer, and then from there, my brother did a lot of stuff in 3D design, 3D models and stuff. So I downloaded this free program called Blender, and I started making my own designs. And then from there, I got an iPod Touch, and I transitioned into taking photos and videos. So it slowly emerged from my love of computers to video and photography.
For me personally, because I obviously know you and I know your story. So I know in high school you had a job, right?
So when I was 16, the moment I turned 16, I tried to get a job as fast as I could, just because I wanted to make my own money. And I didn't really like having that feeling of, my parents just doing everything. Like I kind of wanted to be like take some part in the role of that in terms of finances. So I mean, I got a job as soon as I could, and at Target. So I worked from when I was 16. I think it was a month before my 19th birthday, so about 3-ish years. And I started the cart attendant. Then I did cashiering. Then I did like guest service. I kind of just like slowly went up over time.
Okay, and then did you, throughout this time, were you pursuing, content creation on the side while you had this job?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was still doing like photos and videos. I wasn't going as hard as I was now, but I was definitely still going at it. There's a lot of people, I would talk about in the break rooms. They were like, "Yeah, I'm making this video." I was that like one annoying guy in the break rooms that would just always talk, talk. But yeah, so it was definitely still a relevant thing back then.
Okay, cool. And then, so while you were working this job, in this 3-year period, while you were like working, I don't know how many days a week you were working, but did it ever come across your mind where you were like, okay, I need to figure out a way to make some more money doing what I love so I could transition and do that full time? Did that ever come across your mind? And if it did, when did that happen?
Um, for me, it wasn't like it's not that I really wanted to make more money. I just did not want to be in that situation. I didn't really want to be like I don't know. There's just not whole lot of respect there when you're like the grunt of the company. I guess there's just it was like fun when I was there, but there's a lot of times where the management they just only liked you if you only did certain things, and then they could care less about you other times. And he's like, ouch.
Hmm. That makes sense. So for me personally, the reason I wanted you on this podcast is really, I think you embody what this podcast is about. And it's really having that side hustle, having that thing that you're passionate about, that you're doing on the side. And then you're working at it, when you come back home from work, when you come back home from school. And eventually you'll get to the point where you could transition and start to do that full time. So what was that like that day where because I remember seeing this on your social media, and you were so happy, you like clocked out for the last time, you were jumping around. So what kind of motivated you to take that leap? And what's it been like since then?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's not like I'm in this situation where like I was able to just do it and not have like the thing is when I was working at the job, I was just finishing up high school, so I was still living with my parents, and so it's not like I went from 0 to 60 in that sense. So it wasn't like I had too many what's it called, like responsibilities, So it was still a risk, to go from a day job to video editing and stuff like that. But that initial transition was last year March. I was just about to get ready to go on a trip to Mexico with my family, and then I was like, I was working a lot with my friend before, and I did a lot of stuff for him. And then he was just kind of like, hey, I would be down to have you as my editor if you wanted to. And so I was getting paid more than I was at Target. And so I was kind of like, I mean, I guess, so I just kind of did it. There wasn't too much thinking. It was still a bit like scary for me just because I didn't know where it would go. But ever since then, it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. It's different because there's a lot of downtime compared to like working at Target. You're always seeing people face to face. But because a lot of the ways I make money is by editing, it's a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
Like the one advice I have is it's gonna sound so cheesy. Everyone says this, like literally everyone says this, but like just like don't stop like doing what you're doing, like don't give up, because a lot of people they want initial results, and I was one of those people. Like if I didn't see a result, I was like, well, why am I doing this? But you think about all the times that you're just like you could be like one thing away from that next big step, and so I'm pretty optimistic, and I would always be like, well, I could just be that one step away, even though it could be like 30 steps away. I didn't know how much. I just thought there could be one. So I always just pushed and pushed and pushed.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just I think in that sense it'd be grit. Just keep going even when you don't see that initial, you know, benefit.
No, and I love that. And I actually talked about that yesterday in a previous episode. It's the timing is different for everyone, right? So for you, you're working that job for a few years, and then it happened for you. Some people, it happens for them within a month, 2 months. Some people, it takes 5 years, even longer. So the timing is different for everyone. The key is to just continue to just push forward. So when for you, now that you're doing this kind of full time, you know, you're your own boss now, you're doing content, you're working with some new clients every month. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, yeah, I don't really want to be just not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just not my goals. I don't want to only be a photographer, videographer for other people per se. I want to be kind of my own identity, making content. But I like it even more when it's for me. When I make a video, I want it to have a big impact. Like, I don't know, like I want it to be as meaningful as it can, as meaningful as I can make it. So that's where I see myself in 5 years, just kind of being on my own. And yeah.
No, I think that's super smart. I know for me, especially in 2018, it was a lot of just purely focusing on client work, and I barely made anything for myself. And when I looked at it, you know, even as content creators, we want to build our own personal brands, and that's so crucial, especially moving forward. So I love that, and you're doing a great job. Your YouTube videos are great. For everyone that hasn't seen Wen's work, I'm gonna leave it down in the description. I'm gonna drop his Instagram and his YouTube. Go check him out. Wen, I really appreciate you, and I think your story is really great, and it really embodies what I'm trying to share here on this podcast. So